Under what circumstances, as Prime Minister, do you think it would be justifiable to deploy Canadian Armed Forces in a combat role?
Oh, I think it's warranted if there's a reasonable chance of success, if there's a way that Canada can offer expertise that the rest of the world is unable to provide.
So just to clarify, are you saying there's no chance of success with the fight against ISIS?
Oh, I'm saying that this is going to be a very long challenge against ISIS, and Canada's role in engaging with that needs to be best suited to what we can do better than other countries.
Well, that was abundantly and entirely clear, I think. Good stuff, good questions. I'm proud of this fella, and I don't mean Justin Trudeau. Yesterday, radio host and Sun News contributor and an old friend of mine, Andrew Lawton, interviewed Liberal leader Justin Trudeau on his radio show. What happened? Well, we've got lots of clips to play, but first, let's ask the great Andrew Lawton himself, who joins us from London, Ontario. Oh, you were mean with him, weren't you?
Well, you know, I was just asking a question that I think a lot of Canadians wanted to hear an answer to, and after 3 attempts, it became abundantly clear that he really wasn't prepared to answer that question.
It's one of the most important that we could ask at this time in our history, because there is a war going on, and the way he stammers and stutters and hesitates. I don't mind if he rehearses the answers and has them off pat, but he doesn't seem to be in any way prepared to answer what are surely the obvious questions.
No, and it's interesting. I mean, if you're doing a newspaper interview or a pre-taped interview of some kind, all he has to do is give a soundbite, and that's what's going to make it into the newspaper, into the TV broadcast, whatever. In a live radio interview, Michael, there's really nowhere to hide. People hear the question and the answer, or in this case, the 3 successive non-answers. And it's one thing if he's against the military intervention in ISIS. That's one thing. But to not be able to answer a question that I think is very fundamental, which is, okay, as the leader of the Canadian government, when would you support military deployment? And the fact that he could not answer that question is extremely troubling to me as a Canadian, as well as a radio broadcaster.
Okay, let's hear him having another try at a not dissimilar question. Can we hear that now, please?
I have to ask you one more time, though, Mr. Trudeau, because I'm really not getting an answer from you on this. Is there any scenario that you can give where a Canadian combat operation would be warranted?
Oh, it's not a scenario that I can give. It's the fact that, yes, there would be scenarios in that.
It wasn't even in English, let alone a good answer.
That was like, you know, a proof is a proof, and it's proven, so it's a proof.
Did he? And how long was the interview, by the way?
We spoke for about 11 minutes. The latter half to 2/3 of that was strictly about the ISIS situation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've interviewed a lot of people, and you're pretty savvy and worldly. What did you make of him?
Well, it's interesting because he's very friendly, very amiable sort of guy. So there was never an issue where I felt he was being rude. There was obviously a limited window of time. He's a busy man. He's in London for the Liberal Party's Winter Caucus meeting. And I knew that with a 10-minute sort of block of time in which I could ask him anything, I wanted to address what I think is a very basic question. And as you alluded to earlier, a very important one. And it's kind of interesting because we all know politicians have answers and they try to get around questions. And we all sort of make a joke about it. But when push comes to shove, that's a very serious challenge when a politician is unable or unwilling to answer a very fundamental question. And that was what I found to be most troubling yesterday. Now,
you didn't say, but we just put a couple of clips, and one of them was of his caucus standing up and doing that clapping thing where they bend their bodies forward, as though to say, my God, this is like Churchill and Einstein and Bertrand Russell all combined. That's incredible. Now, that's what parties do to their leaders, as I'm not singling him out here. But here's the issue, I think, with Justin Trudeau. He's been told for so long that he is amazing. He's going to realize pretty soon, particularly in open debate with Harper and Mulcair, that he is adequate at best. I think he's in for a very, very rocky ride.
Well, I have to agree. And, you know, I've had a couple of people message me today and write things online saying, you know, I was pressing him harder than any other media has. And if that is, in fact, the case, I think that's shameful on the part of the media that seems to be giving him a free ride through this election campaign thus far.
Yeah. Well, you were fair. You were never rude. But the problem is that people who do have some tough questions for him, such as, well, we at Sun News, we're not allowed to question him. I've met him once.
I may be joining you on that list now. I'm not sure, Michael.
I was going to ask you about, because I wonder, but because, I mean, that'd be interesting if suddenly he is too busy to be interviewed by you on a major radio station. Now, but I think we have another clip here, because, I mean, by the way, 11 minutes is not a brief period of time. For a part, you know, he's an important person. 11 minutes is fairly long, so I gave you a bit of time, and you could ask some other questions. We've got one more clip, I think, that I want to listen to. Can we play that now, please?
So there's a lot of different paths that need to be taken by the international community to defang and to neutralize ISIS, and I think Canada absolutely should be an important part of that, and that's what I'm committed to.
Yeah, again, I don't know what he meant. I'm not that stupid. I'm probably fairly stupid, but I can't work out what he was actually saying there.
Well, I understand what he's saying in the sense that it's completely contrary to what he's actually proposing from an action perspective. I mean, this is a man who, at another point in the interview, was talking about the need to send humanitarian aid, the need to, help them withstand the cold winter and assist refugees from northern Iraq. But at the same time, the reason there are refugees, the reason there are 1.8 million displaced Iraqis and over 8,400 civilians dead is because of ISIS itself. So to address the symptoms but not address the actual cancer that is ISIS is, to me, laughable that he would dare say that he wants to defang and neutralize, because he hasn't offered any proposal as to how he would do that. You can't defang and neutralize a terrorist state or caliphate by simply helping refugees. That is a part of what you have to do as a country, but not the entirety of it.
Well, if you want to emasculate, neutralize, or defang, not a word I would generally use, you have to take away their weapons, and you have to, eliminate those people who are most vicious. That means war. He implied, at least, that he supported the international community in their efforts. Well, the international community is pretty much around a consensus now that we have to get involved there physically and violently to stop these people. I think what it comes down to is this. He doesn't want to commit himself to appear in any way to be bellicose or violent. And, most important, he doesn't want to seem as though he's like Stephen Harper. He's trying to occupy the left and take it away from the NDP, so the less he's like Harper, the better he thinks it is for his voting bloc.
Yeah, and one of the things that was rather fascinating, and he alluded to this a couple of times in the interview, is that he keeps saying that Canada should only intervene if there's something we can offer that other people can't. So he seems to be completely a stranger to the concept that countries need to work together for a goal, for an aim, for perhaps a mission. But he's saying, no, only if we can offer something that nobody else can. So he's not prepared to do the heavy lifting as a leader of government, it seems.
Well, I mean, look, it's absurd. Everyone has special forces. Everyone has snipers. Everyone has fighter aircraft. We may be better at some things and others not as good. The German police had their sniper unit in Paris. I know because my daughter who lives there actually saw them. My boyfriend is German. You can hear what they were saying. Because the French don't have snipers? Of course they do. It was a token, more than that, a physical act of solidarity with a besieged and bleeding and wounded friend. And that's what we need at this time. Good stuff, Andrew. Proud of you, my friend. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Michael.
And let us know what you think. Please, clearly, unlike Mr. Trudeau, email me at thearena@sunmedia.ca. You can find me on Twitter @Michael Corrin.